Okay, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I think we are ready. And if you're ready, we may put the verse on the screen.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we begin. Narayana Namaskritya Narachaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtapraya Swabhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiti Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, everyone is welcome to today's class. We are reading from the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Canto 1, Chapter 18, entitled Maharaj Parikshit, Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. And today we are treating text 9. And the verse says, Upavarnitam itat vaha punyam prarikshitam maya vasudeva katopetam akyapanam yat aprichataha Upavarnitam itat vaha punyam prarikshitam maya vasudeva katopetam Akyanam yat aprichataha Upavarnitam etad vaha Punyam parikshitam maya Vasudeva katopetam Akyanam yat aprichataha. Word for word translation. Upavarnitam, almost everything described. Etat, all these. Vaha, unto you. Punyam, pious. Parikshitam, about Parikshit Maharaj. Maya, by me. Vasudeva, of Lord Krishna. Kata, narrations. Upitam, in connection with Akyan, statements. Yat, what? Aprichata, you ask from me. Translation and purport. By His Divine Grace, La A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Jagat Guru Shla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. O sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of the pious Maharaj Parikshit. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is the history of the activities of the Lord. And the activities of the Lord are performed in relation with the devotees of the Lord. Therefore, the history of the devotees is not different from the history of Lord Krishna's activities. A devotee of the Lord regards both the activities of the Lord and those of his pure devotees on an equal level, for they are all transcendental. Om Jnana Timridasya Jnana Ganashalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvase Sasuyavadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratvize Namaha Nityanando Vatudendur Vasuda Pranavalabha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Padaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachidananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gora Kalevaraha Advetam Harinadveta Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Sham Adveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatattamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankaja Nabaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankaja Graye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Madirgatima Sarvasva Padam Bhujo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Radhagara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Prishyali Virsivya Manos Marami Shrimam Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Mrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar SRIVAS Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. O sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of the pious Maharaj Parikshit. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lagayate grim yat kari patamahan vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakaram Vyapta Yena Characharam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So again, we'd like to welcome everyone to today's class. And before we proceed to say something for our own purification and probably for the benefit of the audience, we seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis present in this class so that we can discharge this sacred duty of representing Srila Vyasadeva, the author of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, or normally called the Bhagavat Purana, is the intertwined transcendental historical treatise of the activities of Lord Krishna and his dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada says the Srimad Bhagavatam contains historical facts selected from the histories of different planets. And therefore, all spiritual activities accept Srimad Bhagavatam as the Mahapurana. Mahapurana means the greatest of all the Puranas. There are 18 Puranas. And of all these 18 Puranas, Srimad Bhagavatam is described as the Mahapurana by all spiritual activities. And these activities, which are taken from different planets at different times, under different circumstances, are connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, and his devotees. So here, Shuta Goswami is speaking. He says, "Oh sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of the pious Maharaj Parikshit. SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is the sweet narration of Krishna and his devotees' activities. Actually, it is said that there are two Bhagavatams. There is one Bhagavat and there is one Bhagavatam. The Bhagavat is the devotee of the Lord. And the Bhagavatam is the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. So there are two Bhagavatas. The personality Bhagavat, which is a devotee of the Lord, and the book Bhagavat, which is the messages of the Lord in relationship to the devotees. So SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM cannot be talked about. SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM cannot be discussed without devotees. SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM involves the devotees. Parikshit Maharaj, when he was cursed to die in 7 days by Shringi, the Brahmana boy, he could have fought back. He could have counter-cursed the Brahmana boy, because Parikshit Maharaj is also a very exalted personality, exalted devotee of Krishna. And therefore, he has the potency to counteract whatever curse Shringi had issued. But instead of doing that, Parikshit Maharaj took it as an opportunity to prepare for death. After all, everyone in this material world is subject to death. So if everyone is subject to death, which may come today or tomorrow, the wisest thing to do is to prepare for death. So Parikshit Maharaj, instead of fighting back, he simply decided to renounce his kingdom, renounce his family, renounce his kingly responsibilities, and sat on the banks of the Ganges preparing to leave his body to meet death in 7 days, as pronounced by Shringi. At that time, many sages, because he was a king, the emperor of this planet Earth, the news of his death spread everywhere. And great sages, rishis, munis, mystics, all of them received the information and they gathered to witness the departure of the king. And Parikshit Maharaj, he was interested in knowing what a dying man should do, what a devotee should do when he comes to the moment of death. So all these rishis and all these sages and all these munis and mystics, they were all given different ideas how he should prepare for death. But Krishna, being merciful towards his devotee Parikshit Maharaj, immediately inspired Shukadeva Goswami, who had just left home and was wandering in the forest. Krishna inspired him. Super Soul just directed him to where Parikshit Maharaj was surrounded by all of these great sages and munis. So it is said that the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is a cream of the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are compared to the ocean of milk, a sweet ocean of milk. And the cream of this ocean of milk is the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. The SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is such a cream that just by hearing, one can forget that. And because Parikshit Maharaj was seated on a death seat or a deathbed, waiting for the snake bear to come and bite him in 7 days, he needed such a sweet cream from the Vedic literatures. In fact, Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, also describes it in his own language. He says, Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam shukamukhat amritam dravyam samyutam. Now, O expert men, O thoughtful men, please relish SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, the mature fruit of the desire tree of the Vedic literatures. So Srila Vyasadeva, he describes SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM as the mature fruit or the ripening fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. So this cream or this desire tree was Krishna directed Shukadeva Goswami to go meet Parikshit Maharaj and deliver this nectar of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, this cream of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, to his dear devotee, Parikshit Maharaj. And by so doing, Shuta Goswami was present when the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM was spoken. And so Shuta Goswami heard the whole SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM from the lotus lips of Shukadeva Goswami. Even though Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj to deliver him from this approaching death, imminent death, Krishna had arranged for Shuta Goswami to be present so that he can receive the message of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM and later on deliver it to the 88,000 sages in Naimasaranya who were absorbed in performing sacrifices. And they were being disturbed by the smoke. They were performing a 1,000-year sacrifice. And everywhere the soot, the smoke had covered the trees, covered the forests, and disturbed the attendants, the sages who were assembled. But when Shuta Goswami, after hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, he came and delivered this sweet message this cream of Srimad Bhagavatam to the hearing of these sages and actually free them from drinking the smoke. To perform sacrifice, to perform yagya, you must be prepared to drink some smoke. So Sutta Goswami substituted the drinking of the smoke by the sages with the drinking of the cream of the sweet ocean of milk, the ripening fruit of Srimad, of the Vedic literatures. And they relish it so much. And so the same message of Srimad Bhagavatam is with us here today. In fact, it is said that out of great compassion for the living entities, Srila Vyasadeva compiled this very sacred Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Vedic literatures are described as Paramaguyam or Paramaguyatamam. Paramaguyam means something which is a secret. Vedante Paramam Guyam Para Kalpa Prajoditam. The Vedic knowledge is a supreme secret, but out of great compassion for the living entities, Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled this literature, Mahapurana, for the benefit of all living entities. Anarpa Shamam Shakshat Bhakti Yogam Adoksaye Lokasya Jananto Vidyam Chakre Satwatam Samhimtam. The living entities who are bewildered or who are overwhelmed by the miseries of material existence and do not know how to get out of this material world, how to get out of these material circumstances, Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled the Vedic literatures to mitigate the miseries of the living entity. Because these Vedic literatures are linked to the process of bhakti, Krishna consciousness, and especially the Srimad Bhagavatam. It directly discusses, it directly describes the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with his devotees. And such descriptions are described as Karna Piyusham. Nrinam Karna Piyusham Sarvamangalam. Uddhava is telling Krishna, Tava Vikriditam Krishna Nrinam Piyusham Karna Mangalam. That the pastimes, Tava Vikridita. Vikridita means the activities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna. Your pastimes, oh my dear Krishna, are like beverages for the ears. Karna Piyusham. They are beverages for the ears. And because they constitute such nectar for the living entities in general, it is the most auspicious thing for the entire creation. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in relationship with his devotees. And Srila Vyasadeva offered this to the world in order to deliver everyone from the miseries of material existence. In fact, when he wrote these scriptures, he was in perfect vision. Ato Maha Bhaga Bhavan Amogadrik. Srila Vyasadeva had a perfect vision when he wrote this book. If you remember, he first compiled the very literatures, but somehow he was not feeling satisfied. After compiling all the very literatures, he was not feeling satisfied. And he was wondering what had gone amiss. Just then, Srila Narada Muni appeared on the scene. And immediately, Srila Vyasadeva accepted him as a spiritual master and duly inquired from him for a diagnosis of his unhappiness, of his despondency. And Srila Narada Muni did not waste time in chastising Vyasadeva. He said, the people of this world are already inclined to sense gratification. They are already inclined to material enjoyment. And you have added to that problem. Instead of giving them a better opportunity to get out of this material world, you have simply expanded the opportunity to remain in this material world by giving them all these very literatures with different rituals and different worships of demigods that will enhance their material pleasure. They will become more and more entangled. And therefore, you have not done the right thing. And that is why you are not feeling happy. That is why you are feeling despondent. And therefore, Narada Muni said, you must now write a scripture that is totally divorced from all materialistic activity, all materialistic tendencies. You should write a literature that describes the pure activities of Krishna and his devotees. This is what will help the living entity to get out of this material world. So it is said that Vyasadeva wrote this scripture under the guidance of his spiritual master, Srila Narada Muni. And so he was in perfect vision. He was in perfect circumstances. He was properly oriented to describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that of his devotees. And that makes the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM the best of the very literatures. Therefore, Sutta Goswami describes SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM as the essence of the Vedanta philosophy. Sarva Vedantam Saram Idhi SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM Ishyate Tat Rasa Mritam Taptasya Nanyantra Isyat Rati Kwachit. Sutta Goswami is saying the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is the essence of all the Vedic philosophy, is the essence of the Vedanta Sutras. And anyone who studies this scripture will feel satisfaction because It describes the nectarian activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Therefore, this is our fortune. Our greatest fortune is that Srila Prabhupada descended from the spiritual sky to give us the very literatures, and especially Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada placed so much importance on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada did not start his preaching in the Western world until he had translated and given his Bhaktivedanta purports to the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. When the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam was handy, was ready, it was then Srila Prabhupada embarked upon his trip to America to start his worldwide preaching. And that indicates the importance of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Shukadev Goswami delivered this message to Parikshit Maharaj, who needed it very much at that time of his departure. It's like we are observing the Bhishma Panchaka, 5 days whereby Bhishma Dev fasted from water and food in order to leave his body and enter the Vaikuntha planets. We can also say Parikshit Maharaj, he also fasted 7 days just to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And at the end of it, he departed. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam can be compared to observing Bhishma Panchaka. Because Bhishma Dev, he fasted for 7 days and for 5 days without food and without water in order to leave the material world and enter the spiritual kingdom. Parikshit Maharaj, he fasted for 7 days and 7 nights without food, without sleep, without anything, just hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam can deliver one to the spiritual world. And that is the greatness of Srimad Bhagavatam. Parikshit received Srimad Bhagavatam from his guru, Shukadev Goswami, and that enabled him to reach the spiritual sky. So anyone who is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis, it should be understood that he is a candidate for returning home back to the spiritual world. Because this is the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satya Vratam Satya Param Tri Satyam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satya Param. He's the absolute truth. And therefore, anyone who constantly hears this absolute truth about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna promises to take that devotee back home, back to Godhead. And Krishna does not fail in his promise. And he's therefore called Satya Vrata. Satya Vrata, Satya Param, Tri Satyam. Krishna is a master of the 3 truths. The truth about the Brahman the truth about the Paramatma, and the truth about the Bhagavan aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anyone who is hearing the absolute truth, which is the descriptions of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is devotee's pastimes. Krishna promises to take that soul back home, back to Godhead. And that is the arrangement he made for Parikshit Maharaj by directing Shukadeva Goswami to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj at the time of his death. And so by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days and 7 nights, Parikshit Maharaj became eligible to enter the spiritual planets. So anyone who is constantly drinking this nectar of Krishna consciousness, who is constantly drinking the juice of this mature fruit of the Vedic wisdom, Nigama Kalpataro, such a person is already a resident of the spiritual sky. Harilila Kata Vrata Mirtanananda Satsuram. From the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam to its end, it is simply full of narrations of the nectarian accounts of the Supreme Lord's pastimes and his ecstatic devotees. And by hearing such pastimes of the Lord and the ecstasy of his devotees, one also becomes influenced. One also becomes benedicted to experience the bliss of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is here to deliver everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the river Ganges. Just as the river Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, and Lord Chitta is the supreme personality of Godhead among all personalities, and Lord Shambhu or Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Vedic literatures. And anyone who gives oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam, his destiny or his destination is Vaikuntha Loka. So Prabhupada has given us this opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day, and that qualifies us to return home, back to the spiritual world. Tasmat Bhagavatam Anavidyam Ananta Param. I now surrender unto you, my Supreme Master. You are the unlimited knowing Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is the Vaikuntha planets, which are all free from any kind of disturbances. Therefore, you are described as Narayan. And you are the best friend of the living entity. Narayanam, Narashakam, Prapanam, Sharanam, Pranam. Narayanam, Narashaka, Prapanam, Sharanam, Prapadim. Because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, and because you are the best friend of the living entity, and you are very kind in awarding everyone the chance to enter into your planet, I thereby surrender unto you. Please give me the opportunity to be with you in your spiritual atmosphere. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is actually a preparation to go back home, back to Godhead. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is the ticket to enter the spiritual planets. And so we must all be eager to hear Srimad Bhagavatam day in and day out. In fact, it is said that there is a great bond, a very tight bond of affection between the devotee and the Lord. And for those of us in the material world, that affection is forgotten. For Krishna, he remembers the bond. For Krishna, he is interested in that bond. But for the conditioned soul, the Nitya Bada, he has forgotten the bond and he has lost interest in the bond as well. But because Krishna is interested in the bond between himself and the living entity, Krishna still makes the necessary arrangement to give us the scriptures. And by studying the scriptures, by hearing the scriptures, we can again reestablish that affectionate bond that exists between the living entity and Krishna. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord, they take great interest in spreading the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. They take great interest of making sure everybody gets a chance to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, so that by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can again enter into his sweet relationship with the Lord. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is the sweet narration of the Lord and his devotees, anyone who hears it revives his affectionate, sweet relationship with Krishna. And eventually, one returns to the spiritual world. In fact, Krishna tells Uddhava, Na tatat me priyatama atma yunirna shankaraha. You are so dear to me, my dear Uddhava. You are even dearer to me than my own self. Uddhava was a very intimate associate of Lord Krishna. And so, because Uddhava was such a great devotee, he was such a great servant, he was such a great intimate servant of the Lord is telling him that because you are so dear to me, you are even dearer to me than my own self. In other words, when a devotee establishes his loving relationship with Krishna, when a devotee hears the narrations of Krishna constantly, he becomes dear to the Lord. So dear to the Lord that the Lord enjoys the devotee's association beyond anything else. The Lord considers the devotee even more dearer to him than his own self. So by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by our daily association with Srimad Bhagavatam, we are actually becoming eligible for entering into the association of Krishna and his dear devotees. So, the Bhagavatam is the narration of the pastimes of the Lord, along with the activities of his devotees, the pastimes that are connected to his devotees. And because the Lord is transcendental and devotees are transcendental, anything connected with the Lord and such transcendental devotees produces a transcendental effect. So simply by hearing these transcendental activities of the Lord, one becomes eligible for the spiritual sky. Therefore, Sutta Goswami says, Shri 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 Sho Sradananansya Vasudeva Kataruchi. That simply by hearing the kata of Vasudeva, Vasudeva Kataruchi means the nectar of the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by such hearing, one gains the affinity, one develops attachment, one acquires the transcendental position of becoming an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has given us this opportunity to become the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said that only bhakti creates intimacy between the Lord and his devotees. And this intimacy reveals the Lord to the devotee. And there is no process by which this intimacy can be revived except hearing or chanting the glories of the Lord. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that 5 most important activities of Krishna consciousness must be practiced on daily basis. Bhagavat Shravana, Nam Rupa, Mathura Vas, Sadhu Sangha, and Acha Vidhi. Bhagavat Shravana means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Nam Rupa, chanting the holy names every day. Mathura Vas, living in a place where the Lord is glorified. Sadhu Sangha, associating with the devotees. And Achana Vidhi, worshiping the deity form of the Lord. So, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting the glories of the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord are paramount when it comes to developing our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what Srimad Bhagavatam offers to everyone in this world. So, my dear devotees, let us give oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day is our greatest asset. Chanting the holy names of Krishna every day is our greatest asset. So long as we remain in this fire of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we remain in the fire of chanting the holy names of Krishna, our destination is Vaikuntha. Our destination is Goloka Vrindavan. And that is the reason why Srila Prabhupada descended in this world to give us his Bhaktivedanta purports, which we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. My time is up. It's 4 o'clock. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So beautiful. And it's always so good hearing from you, Prabhuji. The beginning, the middle, and the end part of your lecture all stressed on the importance of hearing Bhagavatam, which is so beautiful. So, dear devotees, anyone with a question, comment, please indicate by using your hand and ask your question. See, Prabhuji, I'm not trying to say that this is the only platform where Srimad Bhagavatam is discussed daily. I should say 5 days in a week. Sri Prabhupada set up our temples in such a way that Srimad Bhagavatam will be spoken every single day.
Yeah.
But we know that there are all different kinds of devotees. In the animal kingdom, we have animals like sheep, where we human beings are animals also. And we know the difference between the taste of sugar and salt. We as humans, we love to eat something sugary. And so we love cakes. But the sheep does not like cake. If you put a cake and salt before a sheep, the sheep will ignore the cake and enjoy the salt. So there may be some people, there may be some devotees who may be like sheep, who may not like Srimad Bhagavatam. They may like something else. So in that regard, what do we do? What do we do to encourage these people? How do we help change their taste buds to enjoy and relish sugary things like Srimad Bhagavatam instead of mundane literatures? Like I said, I don't want devotees to get me wrong, assuming that this is the only platform for hearing Bhagavatam. Don't get me wrong. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your question. I can say that actually Krishna consciousness is like a glove jamun. I say like that. That if you buy it from any corner, you
Sweet.
will enjoy it. Yes, it's sweet.
Yes.
And so Prabhupada designed in such a way that there is always benefit, no matter which angle you are coming from. He has given us the holy names. He has given us the kirtans, deity worship, book distribution, food for life, Srimad Bhagavatam, so many things Srila Prabhupada has put together. Actually, Srila Prabhupada is a strategist. He knows how to catch the living entity in Kali Yuga. So he put all the wonderful things together. It's like a saucepan. If you just take a little bit from anywhere, you enjoy it. So if devotees are not so inclined to hearing, but are inclined to chanting, there are some devotees, I know, they like kirtan more than hearing Bhagavatam class. Some devotees like preaching, they like distributing books more than doing anything else. So whichever area attracts the devotee, whichever aspect of Krishna consciousness attracts a devotee, he should just put more emphasis on that, more energy in that. It will gradually bring him to the other aspects. For instance, if somebody is attached to kirtan and he is always doing kirtan 24 hours, what will happen? He will become purified. He will begin to enjoy the nectar of the holy name. And from there, he will begin to enjoy the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. So whatever we do in Krishna consciousness will purify us and will bring us to the nectar of Krishna consciousness, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It may not happen overnight. It may not even happen in this lifetime. But so long as we are connected to the process of Krishna consciousness, there is hope that we would be attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. So we can always make sure that devotees have some engagement. That is most important. If they have some engagement and they are committed to their engagement, they will benefit, even though they may not be interested in hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. By that service, by that engagement, they will become purified. And the more they get purified, the more they will take interest in hearing more and more about Krishna. Due to the levels of our intelligence, due to our level of our piety, due to our inclinations, we are attracted by different aspects of Krishna consciousness. So we just have to expose devotees to all the aspects of Krishna consciousness, and whichever area that interests them, we can encourage them in that area. But eventually, they will get purified. Even prasadam, if the devotee has so much interest in prasadam, give him the opportunity to eat prasadam. He will get purified by eating prasadam. And one day, he will take interest in hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Because SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is actually Krishna. There is no difference between SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM and Krishna. And so, in our Krishna consciousness, we are looking for Krishna. So, whichever way we pass, we will end up with Krishna. So, our duty is to keep everyone engaged in whatever field that interests them. But gradually, they will become purified. And the more they get purified, the more they'll be attracted to the message of Vasudeva. Even in our own lives, we see when we join this Krishna conscious movement, we're not so eager about classes. We're not so eager about scriptures. We're not so eager about Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. But our authorities engage us in different activities. But gradually, as we get purified, our interest in SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, our interest in chanting, our interest in different aspects of Krishna consciousness have become stronger. So, our duty is to give everyone an opportunity to be connected to Krishna consciousness. And with time, they will come to this stage of developing the taste of hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Actually, it's a gift to develop taste for chanting or develop taste for hearing. It's a special gift from Krishna. When Krishna sees your sincere endeavor to know him, to relate to him, to come back to him, he would begin to reveal the sweetness of his holy name. He began to reveal the sweetness of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM to the devotee. So developing taste of hearing is actually facilitated by Krishna, who is within the core of our hearts. He's monitoring everything, and accordingly, he's rewarding. Ye yatam mam prapadyante tam stata eva bhajami aham. As the devotee takes more and more interest, becomes more and more surrendered, become more and more dedicated, becomes more and more sincere, Krishna reciprocates with such a devotee. So we just make sure that every devotee is engaged in some way, is linked to Krishna in some way, and depending on his intensity, dedication, sincerity, Krishna will reveal the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam, the sweetness of the holy name, the sweetness of Krishna consciousness to such a devotee. Of course, I think one of the Puranas talks about the different kinds of hearers of Srimad Bhagavatam. It talks about the fish hearer, the wolf hearer, the different hearers. And according to these different classes of hearers, some people hear, but they don't hear. They just open their eyes and watch the speaker, but they're not hearing. So it doesn't really take effect in their hearts. Some people, they make noise like wolves. So even though they're hearing, their minds are so noisy that they are not hearing the Bhagavatam. They are in a class, but they don't hear one word in the Bhagavatam class. And so there are those that are compared to the Chakora birds. They are very, very attentive, and they will drink every word of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but these hearers can graduate from the lowest level to the highest level, so long as they are associated with devotees, so long as they are engaged in some service that is connected to Krishna, they would get purified, and they will move from one stage of hearing to the next stage of hearing to the next stage of hearing. So my submission is we should give everyone a chance to render service to Krishna, to engage in devotional service, and gradually they will become eligible to hear the sweet messages of Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, yes, very elaborate answer. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody on here and whoever may be listening to this later on will truly enjoy. And the most important thing, like you said, is hearing and applying. So that's what we pray for. His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
We are not hearing you, Ganga.
We cannot hear you. No, your audio still isn't working. Check to see if you did not mute your headphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think your mic was turned off. Yes.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Dandava Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Ganga Prasad Prabhu.
All glories to your divine lotus seat. All
All
glories to
glories
Guru
to
and
Gurudev
Gauranga.
and
All glories to La
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to see
you. Thank you very much. Of everything I enjoy having you people around is that when you enter into the realm of nectar dispensation, you do thorough justice to it. I'm very grateful.
This Prabhupada's mercy is not ours.
So I appreciate, and I wanted you to increase the churning, because in the course of the class, you mentioned that it's like a little twist. You mentioned, oh, now we're observing Bhishma Panchaka, and Bhishma Dev fasted during his last days. And so you quickly said, hearing Bhagavatam is same as observing Bhishma Panchaka. So
Yeah.
that ignited some question in my mind that
You are muted.
You're muted again.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So Bhishmadev fasted, and Bhishmadev had desire to see Krishna at the terminal end of his life.
Yeah.
So in the purport, if you say that hearing Bhagavatam is as good as observing Bhishma Panchaka, it creates some kind of curiosity in my mind that in Bhagavatam 1344, Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport about hearing. And Prabhupada said, simple hearing is not all. 1344. Simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. So he said the word Nevista means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through the ears.
That's right.
And then he said that is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So if we say hearing Bhagavatam is as good as Bhishma Panchaka makes us real sober. And hearing Bhagavatam should be in a very sober, attentive mood. And ultimately, Prabhupada said, if one gives rapt attention, he assuredly can see Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam. Bhishmadev saw Krishna by observing Bhishma Panchaka, and then the hearer of Bhagavatam should also be able to see Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. So this is the churning. I want the nectar to expand.
Yeah, I was simply trying to thank you very much for this point you have brought up. As I was reading yesterday, it just struck me. It just struck me that now we are observing Bhishma Panchaka for 5 days. Bhishmadev did that, and he saw Krishna. He was so determined to see Krishna. So he did that, and he saw Krishna before he left this planet. Then I started thinking, Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted to go back home, back to Godhead. He wanted to see Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj actually saw Krishna in his mother's womb. And when he came out, Krishna had already disappeared. And so Parikshit Maharaj has been looking for Krishna all along. One of his motivations must be that he did not retaliate when Shringi issued a curse that he would die in 7 days, because he had the potency, he had the capability to actually retaliate Shringi's curse. But he opted for something else. He thought, this is an opportunity for me to meet my dear Lord Krishna. That person who came to me in my mother's womb and protected me, it is time for me to meet him. Why should I resist? So he accepted the curse, and immediately he left his kingdom and sat at the banks of Ganga to receive instructions how to get out of this material world. So his 7 days and 7 nights without food, without sleep, he was simply drinking the nectar of Krishna consciousness, the narrations of Krishna, Krishna's pastimes from Shukadev Goswami. And in fact, within those days, he was actually seeing that Lord. He was seeing Krishna. That personality he saw within the womb of his mother, he saw. And that made him completely fearless about the snake bird that was coming to bite him. Parikshit Maharaj, he realized Krishna, he saw Krishna just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. He saw the Lord. He embraced the Lord to his heart. And therefore, there was no question of fear of death. So this thing just hit me so much yesterday. I said, Bhishma Dev fasted for 5 days to attract Krishna to his deathbed. And he saw Krishna right in front of him. And he attained liberation. He obtained deliverance from the material world. Parikshit Maharaj heard Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days, including fasting, from sleep, from food, from water, from everything else. And he saw Krishna within the narrations from Shukadeva Goswami. He saw Krishna at every moment, and he left the world. So I started comparing the two situations. That therefore, even if we are not able to fast the 5 days as Bhishma Dev did, because even if we fast the 5 days, we won't see Krishna. I've been fasting these 5 days over the years. Krishna doesn't appear before me. So, but if we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam attentively, just as you described, there are different levels of hearing. There is casual hearing. There is intermediate hearing. And there is attentive or intensive hearing. One who hears attentively, he can realize Krishna on every page of this Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is recommending. Of course, we have to begin from somewhere. We have to begin from the inattentive hearing to the attentive hearing. We have to begin from the casual hearing to the intensive hearing. So this Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada has given us, and we can just give it an attentive hearing, Krishna will become available for everyone who hears Srimad Bhagavatam. We may not be able to fast without water, without food for 5 days. Some devotees tried it and they almost left their bodies. I tried it before and I almost left my body. Sister Ade Prabhu is laughing. You remember 1992? That was the first time this thing became known to us. I tried it, almost left my body. I fell into a gutter in town. And I advised myself. I didn't see Krishna, I fell into a gutter. But if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam attentively, Prabhupada has promised us, we can see Krishna on every page of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this hearing that being emphasized is actually our greatest gift. But we are not taking so much advantage of it. We are not taking it so seriously. If we are taking it so seriously, we will not waste time not hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, not hearing Krishna Katha. So let us increase our hearing. The other day, Vishwarup Prabhu was giving us some hints. We should have that lecture box that has all of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, arrival, festivals, initiation, everything is there. We can make that our companion, and we can constantly hear. That would help us develop the intensity to hear, develop attentive hearing. The more we give oral reception to exalted personalities like Srila Prabhupada, we will develop interest in hearing, we develop more attention in hearing, and this will help us become eligible to become residents of the spiritual world, where Parikshit Maharaj and Bhishma Dev, they have gone by, in the case of Bhishma Dev, fasting for 5 days, then Krishna came to his bedside and blessed him with his presence before he left. But in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami, he saw Krishna every moment until the 7 days. And he just entered the spiritual world. In fact, Parikshit Maharaj had already left when the snake bird bit Parikshit Maharaj. He had already gone. He was already absorbed in Vaikuntha consciousness. He was already relishing his relationship with Krishna. He did not even feel the pain of this snake bite. So there is the opportunity Srila Prabhupada has given us. That is what I want to infer, that the Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam, is so wonderful. So we should give it a serious thought, a serious attention. And that's why Prabhupada placed so much importance on the Bhagavatam. That without the Bhagavatam, he would not start his international organization. And as soon as he got the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam ready, he was ready to hit the streets with the preaching. So Bhagavatam is very important for us because Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. When Krishna left the planet, the Bhagavatam arose so that he can provide the light in this dense age of Kali. So let's take advantage of Srimad Bhagavatam and just hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it until we leave our bodies. Then Krishna will manifest before us. And that will be our success. Thank you. And Hare Krishna for your question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the answer, Prabhuji. Shri Govinda Prabhu, please give me unmute. I was laughing so hard about what you were sharing at 92. I've always been saying, of course, you are different, but sometimes I crack jokes with some of my God brothers that if Krishna overlooked some of the austerities some devotees have performed all these years, that Krishna himself may be questioned why. Some people have performed so much serious sacrifices. I remember when Gurudev would come to Ghana, Gurudev at the time instantly turned you a guru because you had to live exactly the lifestyle he was living. You leave very early in the morning from the temple. You don't eat and you don't eat outside. You come home so late and in the morning you have to attend Mangarati again. I was thinking to myself, no, I don't want to get close to Guru. Hare Krishna. Okay, Govinda Prabhu, please on mute. I'm enjoying these pastimes.
Hare Krishna, SRIVAS Maharaj. Please accept
Hare
my
Krishna, Govinda Prabhu, and my obeisances also with your grandchild, looking like Rasalila.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad to the devotees.
Hare Krishna.
I have
One question,
okay.
not two
Okay.
questions.
No,
One
I
question.
think it's three questions.
Wait, are we closing today?
I think I have three questions, but I will start from here. Maybe I'll ask one. But the most important question I would like to ask is this: that your teachings today is all surrounded around hearing,
Okay.
SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, which is the main tone of your lecture today.
Yeah.
And it is true that this is what Krishna has said, and this all the acharyas are also saying. And so it is true. But now the question is, how can one develop taste in hearing this Bhagavatam when he or she does not understand what he's been hearing? What I'm saying is, like you see B.D. Maharaj is traveling everywhere, and places that he goes speak Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and it is being translated into their language for them to understand, to digest it. How can one understand? I mean, how can one develop taste in hearing something that he does not understand? Most of the Ghanaians are not very much good in educational wise. So you may speak nicely, and at the end of the class, people will clap, they will clap. But if you ask, what did you hear? You'll be surprised that they didn't hear anything. And so he will sit down there and listen. He will listen to the end, but it is as good as he did not even attend the class, because he will not hear nothing. So what are we doing? Because I know, like India, China, Japan, and all these countries, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatams, these books has been translated into their local dialect. And so they can read and thoroughly understand. And because of that, they develop so much interest, and they love Krishna because they understand. They know what they are doing. So we may be wondering why people come and go, why people come and leave. I'm just realizing that they come and go because they don't understand. You see, some of us, we didn't go to school. It's by the mercy of Guru and Krishna we are still hanging here. And the majority of people coming into this devotional service did not attend school, just like myself. So if you really ask them to tell you about Krishna consciousness, give you the philosophy, they will not be able to tell you anything. So why wouldn't they go away? But there are people who did not even go to school at all, but they pick Christian Bible, the local tree Bible, and they can read it. And unfortunately, those who can read also, they don't read, they don't preach, they don't explain in the local dialect for the people who don't even understand the English to understand. So I think this is the area that I'm very much concerned. What is blocking us from translating these books into our local language? so that we can actually read and understand. Some of the English in these books, they are very high, even a university graduate don't understand. If you use the word like transcendental vibration, transcendental sound vibration, it's easily to use. But if you ask someone to break it into the local language, you see that he doesn't understand it. What is transcendental? And so that is my first question. What is the best way that we can translate these books into our own language, like other countries do, so that we can read Bhagavatam and actually enjoy it? That is my first question.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think I picked two things from your question. First is that whatever lectures we give, somehow it has to be summarized in a local language, so that at least those who cannot grasp the English language fully, they can have something to take away. So that is the first thing. We have to institute this, especially our Sunday classes, because there are a lot of visitors who come, and most of these visitors, their level of English language may not be so deep. So when you preach in English, they don't grab anything. So if there is a summary of it in a local language, like the commonly spoken language, the Chui language, a lot of people will get some message to take away. So that's the first thing I've taken note of. The second point is about translating our books into Chui, or local languages, let's say local languages. Of course, Akan is a common language in Ghana. In every part of Ghana, Akan language is spoken. So it's a common language. So I think what we need to do is to get good translators, because in the beginning, one devotee who is no more with us, Jiva Goswami, was authorized to translate Perfection of Yoga. He did, but when people read it, they don't get a meaning. So his translation was not to the taste of the people. And that is how we just ended on the issue of translations. But some few years back, maybe about 4 or 5 years back, we got some printers from Kumasi, and they said that any book we want to translate into Chui, they can do it professionally. They have professional translators. So we gave them some books. We gave them Science of Self-Realization. We gave them Coming Back. And then one more, we gave them 3 books. I think Krishna Consciousness and Christianity, or Christianity and Krishna Consciousness. We gave them 3 books. They should go and translate and bring it. Then we will get our own devotees who speak the language to go through it. And if they are satisfied with it, then we can begin to think of printing them. In fact, we never got those books back from those people who took them away for translations. As we just bring this matter up, it reminds me of that. So I'm going to ask Yoga Das Prabhu. He was the one who was in between the printing press and the temple and the society. So I will find out from him whether he is still in touch with the people and what has happened to our books we gave them 4 or 5 years back. They never came back. Anytime he will call them, they said they are translating, and they never brought it back. So if they cannot do it, then maybe we have to find another group of people who can do it. But I've taken these 2 points, that we should give a summary of our lectures in Chui so that the general mass of people can grab something. And we should be thinking of translating at least one of our books, like Science of Self-Realization or Coming Back, and printing it for the benefit of the majority of Ghanaians who speak the Chui language. So thank you for bringing this up. We would pursue it and see how far we go with it. We'll give the feedback.
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, if they can translate Bhagavad Gita. Actually, I'm interested. And so let me know if there's somebody ready to translate it and how much will cost to for the translation.
Okay.
Let me know. I'm interested. I
right.
can sponsor that.
Thank you very much. This is very inspiring. We would follow it through and make sure that it's done.
Yeah.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
yeah, my next question is the next question is about, you know, when in the 7th stanza of Damodara Staka, where it says, oh Lord Damodara, just like the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Kuvera were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own Prema Bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. Prema Bhakti. So when Krishna pulled Arjun trees down, then these 2 great personalities came out. And Krishna asked them to go back. You know, these were the sons of Kuvera.
Yeah.
The question here is that we are asking Krishna to give her the same Prema Bhakti. Means the Prema Bhakti was given to these 2 devotees.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, after they returned to the heaven planet, what were their activities?
Well, I've not read anywhere, I've not come across anywhere what they're doing in the heavenly planet with this Prema Bhakti that Krishna has given them. But certainly, once they have attained that position of Premi Bhaktas, lovers of Krishna, they would do some preaching work. They would put into practice that love they have obtained by seeing Krishna, by having darshan of Krishna. Exactly what they're doing, maybe, you know, preaching, giving classes, or whatever, we cannot say. But the fact is that one who has attained this Prema Bhakti, one who is a Premi Bhakta, he cannot keep quiet. He cannot hide his love for Krishna. He cannot be idle. As soon as there is an iota of love, the fire of love burns. And so naturally, they would want to share that love with others. So we can safely conclude that there must be preaching in the heavenly planets. We can safely conclude that they are in ecstasy of seeing Krishna, they are in ecstasy of getting that benediction, and they will be distributing that knowledge. Sometimes Narada Muni also preaches in the heavenly planets, and that is why he's called Deva Rishi. Deva Rishi means the sage among demigods. Narada has no business in the heavenly planet. His only business is to preach. So Narada goes to the heavenly planet and he preaches to the demigods as well. So in the same vein, Nalakuvera and Maningriva, having obtained the Prema Bhakti from Sri Krishna, they will be so enthused, so happy, so enlightened, so ecstatic that in their day-to-day activities, they'll be engaged in preaching to different congregations in the heavenly planet, just as Narada Muni is doing from time to time. I've not come across exactly, no, I've not seen where it is stated what they're doing, but we can see what other pure devotees, other Premi Bhaktas are doing. They are very eager to spread the glories of the Lord. They cannot keep quiet. They cannot sit in one place. So therefore, having obtained that blessings from the Lord, they must be preaching in the heavenly planets.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Yeah, thank you so much. His Grace Hare Chakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavan Pranam. All glories to Guru,
All
all glories
glories
to
to Gurudev,
Prabhupada, and all glories to you.
All glories to you too.
Yeah, thank you for your class. My little
And,
observance, and I want you
let's
to
go.
share a little bit on it. If whether my observance is right or not. What I observe is that anytime we give class, we put emphasis on hearing. People
Okay.
should hear. People should hear when we should hear Bhagavatam, but we don't emphasize on the speakers. Because I remember when we were in school, like we had one particular literature master. Every student wanted to be at his class because the way he presents literature, you will love it. And I mean, nothing will stop you from being attentive. It's so sweet. He makes it sound so sweet that it attracts you. It will want me. So I've always been hearing that, we should hear Bhagavatam very attentively. We should hear Bhagavatam with rapt attention. But if the speaker is boring, how can you? We are not advanced devotees. I mean, when the sages at Namisharanga and the sages at the bank of Ganges, when Parikshit Maharaj was hearing Bhagavatam, they are elevated beings that if even your voice is like cockroach, they will still listen to you and be able to listen attentively. But I don't think we are on that level. Well, personally, I'm talking by myself. I'm not on the level of so why don't we put emphasis also on the presentation too? Because if the person doesn't present it to make it very attractive. One example is I remember in the olden days in Ghana, when somebody like Baladev Prabhu, most of his classes, he just gave the class so lively that every mother will be in his class. I mean, the presentation, why don't we put emphasis on the presentation too? But we are always talking about listen attentively. We should listen with rapt attention. Yeah, it's very good. But how are we going to be able to listen with rapt attention if we are not hearing it like the nectar is not flowing like that will attract us? So I want you to give a little bit, throw a little bit light on that aspect of.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. It's an important point you brought up. Speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is not that easy because it's a transcendental subject matter. That's for sure. And so one has to prepare himself adequately in order to present Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Prabhupada mentions, I think that the sages of Namisaranya, when they were employing Sudha Goswami to speak, they mentioned some qualifications for speaking Bhagavatam. The speaker has to be learned. The speaker has to be, he must have heard from an authority. There are a number of points. It's in the first canto somewhere. The qualifications for speaking Bhagavatam. So, but the point I just want to make is that it requires preparation. If you don't prepare, you cannot deliver. To make the class interesting, you have to prepare. There was a book I bought in Mayapur many years. In fact, the first time I went to Mayapur in '83, I saw this book, How to Give Bhagavatam Class. Immediately I was attracted to the book and I bought it. But borrowing out to devotees, it got lost. As soon as devotees saw it, oh, I like it. I want to read. I want to photocopy. I want to do this. I lost that book. And I've been looking for the copy of that book everywhere in the world I can find. But that book it gives a structure how to give class. At least I can remember a few things. Say the class, you should yourself study the verse very closely, study all the words in the verse, identify important points in the purport and in the verse, look for verses that can support those points you've made, find some story that would elucidate the verse, and you have to come to a conclusion. There is an opening, there is a middle, and there is a conclusion. So it is something we have to learn. Of course, for the pure devotees, it's an ecstasy. It is an exuberance of ecstasy. He is enjoying describing Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's Leela, that he doesn't even need to plan. But for us who are learning how to give class, we have to have a structured class. And that is the, when you do systematic study of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, that is part of the training that you are given in studying Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta, and so on. When you read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, you have to pick up a number of things from the purport. Sometimes Prabhupada talks about personal application. He talks about preaching application. He talks about mood and mission. He talks about different aspects in the same purport. So a speaker must know his subject well. He must study the verse, study the purport, pick out some points, make some references, find some corollary verses, and then get some stories, get some examples, and that will make the class rich, and that will attract the hearers. So, but of course, we cannot learn these things without hearing from others. Yeah, so by hearing from others, we can learn how to do that. And I have been thinking about it. I've been thinking, if I could get that book, I would offer a seminar on how to give class. But I've not come across that book. I'm still doing my research to see where I can get a trace of it. Though we can present something based on the Bhakti Vaibhava classes. But that book was so very good. Introduction, body of the lecture, conclusion, and so on, stories, different things. And especially in this age of Kali, if you just speak raw philosophy, it does not attract people. So Baladev Prabhu's his technique was to always give some interesting stories from the Mahabharata. He's a Mahabharata specialist. And so that attracted people. Anytime you give class, you by all means come out with one story from Mahabharata. So it is true that the speakers, anybody who is to give class, you must prepare. You should not just think, oh, I've been hearing it is enough. I'll just go and repeat what I'm hearing. No. You have to prepare. Read the verse again and again and again. I read this verse more than 5 times. I read the purport more than 5 times. And I think of different verses from different areas that will highlight the meaning of this verse. So in my meditation on this verse, that's how I thought of this Bhishma Dev fasting for 5 days to see the Lord, and Parikshit Maharaj fasting for 7 days and hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and he was seeing the Lord every moment. So the more you read and meditate, the more you research into different areas, the more you gather material, the more your lecture will become richer, and the more you yourself relish it. Because the more you read and gather interesting points, the more you relish sharing those points. And when devotees relish the class, you also relish their hearing. When devotees enjoy the class, Krishna rewards you for enthusing the devotees. In fact, the whole SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is an exchange program. When you speak to inspire people, Krishna inspires the speaker also. And that is why we have to prepare enough to be able to inspire our hearers. And by doing so, Krishna will also inspire you. Krishna will give you that satisfaction. So it is important that everyone who is given the chance to speak, don't just wait until the moment comes and you go on the platform. You should research, read the verse again and again, pick out some points, do some research, look for verses that would support your presentation, look for some stories and some examples, and make your lecture rich, and enthuse devotees with your lecture, make them happy, and Krishna will also make you happy. Thank you. And Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. I remember having the book, but I'll have to look for it. And when I do find it, I'll forward it to you.
Please, I'm looking for that book. I want to make a seminar for preachers.
Yeah. Senator Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to, I'm not on my system and my light went off. I think VANACARI Prabhu was talking about 1 Canto chapter 1, text number 13. In that verse, the sage another talked about the qualities of a speaker, and in the Papa did a whole lot of justice to that. You can share it on the screen. 1 Canto chapter 1, text number 13. Prabhupada talked about the qualities of the speaker of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM there.
I see. Yeah, I've come across, but I can't remember. In the sages also, when they were glorifying Sutta Goswami, they also brought that up. And also, yeah, I think when the Kumaras also came to see Parikshit Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, there they also, that's when Prabhupada also talked about.
Did you say 4:1:13?
1 Canto chapter 1, text number 13. Yeah. Come. Have you seen it? Okay, I can read it from here for you if you can find it.
Can you repeat the sloka? The text, I should say.
1:13. 1:13.
Oh, okay.
1:13, yeah, that's it. 1:13.
Okay.
Yeah. It talks about the quality of the speaker and the quality of the hearer.
That's right. Yeah. That's why it says, Sutta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and its incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. And the purport, Prabhupada talked about it. The conditions of hearing the transcendental message of the absolute truth are set forth herein. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager to hear. And the speaker must be in the line of disciplined succession from the recognized acharyas. The transcendental message of the absolute is not understandable by those who are materially absorbed. Under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one becomes gradually purified. Therefore, one must be in the chain of disciplined succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. In the case of Sutta Goswami and the sages of Naima Serenya, all these conditions are fulfilled because Sutta Goswami is in the line of Srila Vyasadeva, and the sages of Naima Serenya are all sincere souls who are anxious to learn the truth. Thus, the transcendental topics of Lord Sri Krishna's superhuman activities, his incarnation, his birth, appearance, or disappearance, his forms, his names, and so on are all easily understandable because all requirements are fulfilled. Such discourses help all men on the path of spiritual realization. So thank you, Salika Prabhu, for digging into the archives to bring it up. I came across it many years ago. I didn't when we're treating this this section on the Bible.
Yes, when I do find the book, I'll forward it to you. You have to give Bhagavatam class.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will love it because I want to make a presentation on it.
Yeah. I don't know if His Grace Srimad Prabhu would like to say something in regards to the translation of the books, because I believe he has translated one of our books into one of our local dialects. And I remember when I was in Ghana, I was friends with I was friends with one gentleman. He was with the Department of International Languages. It's a whole institution in the Ghana Education Service. Their building was close to the museum.
Yeah, Institute of Languages.
Institute of Languages, yes.
Yeah, yes.
And I was in communication with him, like trying to get him to translate some of our books. And he was very, very interested in devotional service.
Wow.
I used to visit him in his house almost every Akadashi. I go to spend hours with him because I like to stay awake. So I go stay in his house till night before I come back to the temple. But we couldn't do it. And then I came here. But I'm thinking that it would be almost impossible for non-devotees, no matter how expert they are, to translate our books into local languages. So I don't know if Srimad Prabhu will be able to shed some light on it. I think we may need the services of such people, but a devotee that speaks the local dialect will have to be there to make sure that they get everything right. Otherwise, I do not see how. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Dandava Pranam, Prabhuji. Obeisances to everybody. First is okay, maybe if you don't find the book you're looking for, but there is another book that may help you by, what's his name? Conteria on congregational preaching. So they have a chapter on that, on where it is said, it is titled public speaking, right? But then it includes so many of these things, many of the things necessary for devotees to know in giving class.
Okay.
So Yeah, of course, I'm using that as part of our seminar for disciple course, because you'd have to show them devotees how to be able to also present the philosophy. It was part of the congregational preaching seminar, and it's the book Congregational Preaching, a whole chapter on that is dedicated to. If you find that, you'll find almost everything you need on that subject.
Okay.
Okay. Now, concerning translation of books into local language, of course, until we wake up to the importance of preaching to our people in their local language, we will not make any much impact on the ground. In Europe, almost every country has the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna conscious books in their own language. It is we, the third world country, which are colonized, that are using other people's language as our official language, that we're still dealing with, the official language. But even then, Bible and other holy books, Quran, they're all in the local languages. So people also used to say something that, you may speak English or French, but when matter comes to real important matters, and when it comes to prayer, you have to do it in your own local language. People do that. That is what people say. When you are talking business or anything, it can be in official language, but when you have to pray, then people change their tongue. So that is how important the spiritual message in local languages. That's how important it is. It's very, very important. Anyway, so my realization is on this has pushed me to do, to start, and I've done 4 books now. Bhagavad Gita is completed. Krishna book is completed. Christ and Krishna is completed. I'm doing revision of that, and Coming Back is completed. So Bhagavad Gita, of course, I ran into trouble with the printers in Nigeria, because just as soon as I gave him the book, then COVID-19 came in, and with all the lockdown, the guy had excuse to blow up the money I gave him, and he didn't do any work except the sample copies he gave me, which I share with people on the night. It's very nice, but then since then he has never produced the book. And just a few months ago, we tried to take him to police, and he's playing sick and all that stuff. But anyway, I think when it is time, Krishna will help us. But people have gone through. We send them to some professor. Salika Prabhu helped me to send it to some professor. I sent it to one of our old chief in Nigeria, Chintan Lila. He also went through, and they all, acclaim that's very good. So since then, I've been encouraged to do other ones. So what Sahadi Prabhu is saying is it's true. I'd wanted to say that, but it's good that he asked me to also give my experience. It will be very difficult for a non-devotee to translate these books. Very difficult for them, because like Govinda Prabhu said, there are certain terms that they are not used to. It's not their jargon. It's just like Krishna conscious diction. There are particular vocabularies which are like limited to Krishna consciousness. You don't find them being used in daily what do you say speech. People speaking, no, they don't use this. So, but devotees have the understanding, and they can find the corresponding words in the local language. So if any translation, if you pay money ahead before the translation, you're going to be disappointed. So it's better that either they do it first before you pay when you go through, or a devotee is with them. Yes. When it comes to spiritual knowledge, actually, it is not academics. It is not being very academic. No. It's not at all. You have to be a practicant. How do you say? You have to be a practitioner. You have to be a practitioner. You have to be a practitioner. If you're not a practitioner, I can attest the same thing even for the Bible. And in fact, the Holy Bible translated into Yoruba language by Ajayi Crowther. Now, Ajayi Crowther, of course, is a practitioner, and but it was kind of cut off from his tradition. He was taken as a slave. So, time he translated the Bible, it was no longer on the ground. And many people have been contesting a lot of words that he used in the Bible, that Bible. Of course, I think there's been so many revisions of that now. But the first person who translated, because he was also not very much close to the local language, there were some faults. Anyway, but he did a good job, his own job. So that is how it is. The person has to be a practitioner, and he has to be very close to the local diction, the word people use, commonly for things. Otherwise, they may give a wrong interpretation for certain things. Like for instance, this, just an example. Now, today, people are contesting Ajayi Crowther's translation of devil or Satan to mean issue. Now, this can be confusing because yes, the Yorubas call issue as they want to believe that it's Satan, but they are not the same personality. The personality of the Satan described in the Bible and issue in Yoruba are not the same. You see, issue is a police of God. It's like Durga. They say it's the police of God, and but it's not against God. And in every sacrifice, they have to offer his own part. They have to give Satan his own portion. So Yorubas don't accept that Satan actually is the same as Eshu, even though today everyone may say that, but they say no, it's not the original meaning. It is the wrong thing that Ajayi Crowther did to the tradition. So these kind of things can happen if we don't have people who are really practitioners and who understand the local culture very well, so that there will be no misinterpretation and misunderstanding. So yes, I buttress what Sadi Prabhu said, that if we want to attempt this, there must be a devotee practitioner who also understands the local culture. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Oh, Prabhuji, I think you are in for a little bit trouble because I see 3 hands up here. So
maybe they want to make contributions.
Yeah, we know you're always busy, so we'll see.
Yeah, sorry, Prabhu. Before you let him go.
No, hold on, please. Ganga Prashad is ahead of you. Ganga Prashad, Prabhu, please unmute.
No, I'm not asking. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. I don't have a question, rather I have a contribution, like you mentioned, in relationship with the concept of the speaker and the hearer. And you were proposing a seminar. I have a little material at my disposition compiled by Goranga Darshan of Govardhan Eco Village, and it is called Bhagavad Subodhini. In Bhagavad Subodhini, Volume 1 for Bhagavatam 1 and 2, inside in the thematic compilations, it has this completely delineated, the spirit of Bhagavatam speaker and hearer. And they mention all those qualities that is in what Salika had mentioned. They are brought point by point down. And he gave an example of Sukadev Goswami as a speaker. He gave an example of Sutta Goswami as a speaker and Lord Brahma as a third speaker. They possess almost similar qualities but different points. Then for hearer, he used Maharaj Pariksit as one and Narad Muni as another, and the sages of Nemisaranya. So three references. And in each of the forum, there are different characteristics or traits that they portray. So if we are private, I think Goranga Darshan books are on, what do you call it? You can get soft copy.
I have, because I teach, I have all I have a few copies. Maybe I have one here in Ghana here. I'll just look at it. As soon as we finish, I'll look at it and see. I think the one on
for Bhagavatam 1 and 2 is
one
there.
And 2, yeah. I think
Cantos 1 and 2 is there.
Yeah, I shall have it. I shall have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look at. Thank you
that is my contribution.
Thank you very much. Very important contribution. I've been meditating on making a seminar, and so I'm looking for materials. So this will add to the materials. Thank you very much. Then I think Govinda Prabhu.
Yes. Shri Govinda.
Yes. Yeah, Prabhu. One is question and one is comment.
Okay.
So the question is about the Bhima Panchaka.
Okay.
You really mentioned that you almost fainted the first time you tried. And yes, I was also in Ghana when Mother Brahma Samhita, if I could remember very well, she also had almost the same problem. And so Good Day was around, and he instructed us not to do it, not to do that dry 5-day fasting.
Yeah.
So the question is, now the Good Day has stepped in. If we try to do it, is it the disobedience of Guru Maharaj? And that is the question. And concerning a devotee practitioner in regards to printing of translating the books into our local language. These devotees from Nkoko, Adasi Prabhu and Adasi Prabhu Santanu, these devotees are very, very good in this local language. Okay. So if you can talk to them, Adasi Prabhu more especially, I think he can do a very good help in translating this book. Yeah.
All right. I will talk to him immediately after class. And the other point is
the Bhima Panchaka. Bhima Panchaka.
Yeah, Bhima Panchaka. Actually, Gurudev said we should not do the 5 days dry fasting. So I also tell the that don't try it. You can leave your body with the dry fasting. So you can take some juice, you can take some fruits, you can take something, but don't if you do that and you die, you will not see Krishna. Krishna will not come to you because you fasted to death. So I'll tell devotees, I tell them my experience. And they shouldn't fast dry. Take some fruit, take some juice, at least don't go dry. We just we overdid things and we suffered for it. So Gurudev said don't fast dry. So why fast dry? If you fast dry, then you're also disobeying the order of the spiritual master. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I think
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
I think it's time we let Prabhu go.
Thank you very much.
I remember, I think you fainted through Walache's office also.
Yeah. It was not easy. I was not eating anything for 5 days.
And you were doing the very things you used to do.
I was still doing the same thing. I think
that was the problem.
Yeah, instead of me to rest at home, I still want to go out. I still want to go around to people, raise money and all that. And I fell into a gutter. I entered in Joe Walaja's office, and I was determined to finish the 5 days without food. I told you, don't try it.
Okay. So thank you so much. At this point, we're going to ask the devotees to kindly unmute. And we all chant Hare Krishna mantra to express appreciation to our speaker. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Prabhupada ki jai.
Srivas Maharaj ki jai.
Jai. So